Hello everybody, I just wanted to touch on a little bit of a subject that has come up in recent days, and a subject that I think will come up more and more often over this next year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows. It concerns gambling companies, betting companies involved in sport, but mainly in football. Some news came out recently that over in Spain, Spanish authorities, the Spanish government has given La Liga and La Liga clubs a deadline until the end of the season to cut ties with their betting sponsors. This is because there are new gambling regulations that are going to come into effect in the new year, and essentially the La Liga clubs, La Liga itself, will have to get ready for those changes to when those changes do eventually come into place. Now, the clubs have raised concerns about this move. They said that a loss of revenue will be significant. In fact, the La Liga president Javier Tebas said that it could cost around 90 million euros for La Liga and its clubs. The Minister for Consumer Affairs over in Spain, Alberto Garzón, he has a different opinion though. He says that change to these rules, that these new regulations in Spain are coming into effect because of a growing number of gambling partnerships in sport. They're clearly concerned about this, and they say that the government doesn't want to endorse or normalise this trend. The trend that obviously more and more sport figures, sport clubs are taking on betting companies and gambling companies as their sponsors. As things stand, 7 of 20 La Liga clubs have gambling companies or betting companies as their main sponsors. Sevilla, for example, have Marathon Bet. Alaves, Levante and Real Betis, all three of them, for example, share Betway as their sponsor. So it's an interesting role. It will be very interesting to see how these clubs react and how they will be able to fill in that financial gap during what is a very precarious time, not only for football clubs but for sport as a whole. Very tough financial period, and I say sport, let's face it, for everybody, not only sport but for every industry. Times are hard at the moment, unless you're Amazon or eBay or such. The president of La Liga, Tebas, is basically calling for a 3-year transition period. He wants more time to be given to clubs to try and fill that financial gap, to prepare for these new regulations. I do tend to agree with him. It's a bit sudden to say, at the end of the season, you have to cut ties with your betting sponsors, whereas these betting sponsors could be signed up for agreements which could last for a couple of 3-4 years, and just all of a sudden they will have to end these sponsorship deals and find new ones. Let's face it, we are in November now. December, January, February, March, April, May. We're looking at 6-7 months time. They've got to find new sponsors to fill that financial gap, and whether they will be able to find enough money to fill that financial gap is a concern. Now, that's obviously in Spain, but what about the Premier League? What about the Championship? What about English clubs? What about here in the UK? What is the situation here? Well, last season, if you'll remember, half of the Premier League clubs had betting company logos on their kit. This season, it's 8. 17 of the 24 clubs in the Championship last season also had betting companies, gambling companies displayed on their kit. Now, that is a lot of clubs in the top 2 divisions, and as you can imagine, these companies are putting millions of pounds in these clubs and in, let's face it, to the Premier League and into the Championship. But what are some of the concerns with regards to gambling and betting in the UK? How bad is the gambling problem in the UK? According to a 2018 Gambling Commission audit, they did a report, and it basically said that 55,000 children aged 11 to 18 years old in the UK are problem gamblers. That was the result of their report. They also added that an estimate of 430,000 people are compulsive gamblers here in the UK. The Guardian newspaper in 2019 reported that £14.4 billion was lost by people betting in the UK. As I mentioned before, that was back in 2019. These are incredible numbers and incredible figures. But however, you got to look at this from both sides. Obviously, this is a massive concern. But on the other hand, these clubs, these competitions such as the Premier League and Championship, they are now in a position where they heavily rely on this funding. And if it were to be cut off as it is in Spain, how would they go about filling these gaps, filling these financial gaps? You know, I had a look in Italy and Turkey, are two nations which have gone a similar route as Spain. They have banned gambling and betting kit sponsors, and you know, the House of Lords here in the UK, their select committee reached a similar conclusion. They want gambling and betting sponsors to be banned from Premier League clubs, and they believe that they should be also phased out from Championship clubs by 2023. But an interesting line that there was in the report, it said that they did expect serious effect on smaller clubs, and that is, I mean, you cannot disagree with that. If you look at, for example, Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, well, there will be an effect on those clubs. They will still manage. But if you look at the likes of Burnley, perhaps, or Southampton, that's a large portion of their sponsorship is betting and gambling companies. What about Derby County, who, thanks to 32 Red, essentially, are paying Wayne Rooney's wages at this moment in time, reportedly? Gambling contributes around £70 million a season in the Premier League and £40 million across the English Football League. That's £110 million of investment into the top 4 professional competitions in England. And as I said before, should that source of funding be cut from the lifeblood of football here in the UK, where is that other? Where else are they going to get that money from? Because it does have to come from somewhere, especially during the ongoing pandemic, where financial resources are much harder to come by. It's hard to see where this funding gap will be replaced. Now, the Department of Culture, Media and Sport is in the midst of a report into the UK gambling regulations, and a review is expected to be done before the start of the 2021 and 2022 Premier League season. So we should know more quite soon, and it will be interesting to see whether the UK will go the similar route as Spain, Italy and Turkey. Maybe they'll have a more phased approach. Maybe they'll do it over the course of the next few years. But it's, you know, there are certain things which we know for sure. Number one, gambling and betting companies are suddenly have a massive influence on English football. Number two, there is a clear uncertainty of how clubs would cope without that funding. Two clear issues which this report will have to look at. Obviously, gambling is a massive problem for many people across the country, across the globe, and that should be the priority, that should be the number one concern. Of course it should. But also, don't forget, these clubs, you know, they have employees as well. There has to be a balance to be found. And whether there's more regulations, whether the gambling companies are banned, whatever route is taken, the decision, I'm sure, will have a great impact on the sport. And as I said at the start, this is an issue that we will certainly hear more of in the next few years. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.